everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Natalia Leigh and I'm an indie author and freelance editor, and today I'm going to be sharing 5 tips that you can use right now to become a better writer. These are 5 things that you can do to improve your stories and improve your storytelling ability. Now keep in mind that a few of the things I mention will definitely need a deeper dive later on. So I do want to make specific videos about some of these topics because I'm going to try to keep this video a little bit brief. We don't need a half-hour video on this topic. So I will be doing a deeper dive into some of these topics. So don't worry if I give you one of these tips and you're like, wait, I don't really know how to do that, or I don't really know what that means, because I am going to be making videos on all of these topics. I want this video to be uplifting more than anything, so don't feel down in the dumps if you're not the best at these things that I'm mentioning, because that's why these are 5 things that you can do to improve your writing, improve your storytelling ability, and become a better writer. All right, let's dive right in. The first one, this is a big one, and this is one that definitely needs an entire video topic. You need to know your character's wants, goals, and fears. Those are 3 things that you absolutely must know. And then in addition to that, you need to know what is at stake for your characters. Now, this is something that I personally have struggled with, and I've had to work really hard to overcome this. I am now on my 7th book. I will be writing my 8th and 9th books this year, and I feel like I'm finally getting to a point where I can nail this down and I really know what my characters want and I can keep it super clear. But for new writers especially, this can be hard to do. Sometimes you just have this fun idea for a story and you know this amazing world, and you just fill it with all these characters, but you don't really know what they want, you don't know what they're afraid of, and another big one is you don't know what's at stake. There needs to be something at stake in order for readers to care about your story and to care about the characters in your story. And it doesn't really matter what genre you're working within, there is always something at stake. So let's take romance, for example. Within a romance, what are the stakes? I would say that it's usually going to be the romantic partnership. That's what's at stake, because your character is either going to gain that romantic partner or they're going to mess it all up and they're going to lose that potential love of their life. So that's what's at stake. With somebody like Harry Potter, I guess, one of the biggest stakes is, you know, is Voldemort going to take over the world? Because if Harry fails on his quest to defeat Voldemort, that's what's going to happen. But if Harry didn't have those stakes, if Voldemort wasn't really there and nothing was really pushing him, then we wouldn't have a premise. We wouldn't have as much of a reason to be cheering for Harry and following along with his story, and we wouldn't be so excited when he finally conquers that evil and when he finally gets to that point. So I have read many books, I'm doing a ton of editing right now, and something that I frequently am seeing is that many authors do not know what their characters want, and they do not have high enough stakes. So this can totally destroy the tension in your novel. It can make for a dull and boring read sometimes, and it can also make your characters completely aimless. So if you're one of those writers that's having these experiences where you're like, I have no idea where my story is going, my characters are walking around aimlessly, then 1, you might need to plot an outline, and I will always be in the plotter outliner camp, even though sometimes I am a plantser. You might want to plot an outline a little bit, and you also really need to get crystal clear on what the heck your character wants, what they're afraid of, what their goals are, and what is at stake if they fail. The second tip is one also that I need to make an entire video on. I've had people ask me to make a video on this, and it is to show and not tell. And let me tell you what, I think every new writer struggles with this. I absolutely struggled with it, and I truly believe that I don't think I have ever met a writer who has not struggled with show versus tell. And for new writers especially, I think one of the reasons this is that we have this tendency to tell readers the story instead of showing them, and instead of letting the story unfold so that they can watch it and experience it. I think the reason for this is because we want so badly to paint a perfectly clear picture of our characters and of our world and of our story that we kind of fail to allow the readers to come to conclusions on their own. Our readers are very intelligent and they can figure things out. You do not have to dumb down your writing for your readers. And I guess a very brief example of show don't tell: nervousness. We all know how it feels to be super nervous for something. Maybe you're going on a date for the first time. Maybe it's a blind date. Oh my gosh. Maybe you are getting up on stage for the talent show. Maybe it's your first day at work. You all know how nervousness feels. Now, a new writer or somebody who's trying to really communicate, really get the point across that their character is nervous, they might blatantly tell the reader, you know, Susie was feeling nervous as she walked into work on her first day. That is totally destroying the connection that your readers are trying to make with your story, because they're not being sucked in. You're just telling them everything instead of allowing them to see it for themselves. So you could show Susie, I'm pretty sure that's our character's name, you could show Susie being nervous by having sweaty palms, her hands are shaking, her heart is racing, maybe she's, you know, mumbling her words to her new boss, and you never ever have to put the word nervous in that scene. You never have to say Susie is nervous, because when you show us this action, when you show us these experiences, these feelings that she's having, we know what those feelings mean. Again, your readers are smart. Your readers have experienced nervousness, and you do not have to tell them Susie is nervous, Susie is angry, Susie is frustrated, Susie is whatever. You can always show them through action, through dialogue. You never ever have to just blatantly say Susie is nervous. And that will absolutely peg you as a newbie writer, but it's okay, because all of us do it. Honestly, I have never met a writer who has not struggled with show versus tell. I'm sure there's some out there. I'm sure you exist, but you are the rare and special unicorns. Most of us struggle with show versus tell. So I will make an entire video about this subject. I will actually do on-screen examples where I will write sentences of telling and then rewrite them to show what the characters are feeling and show the action playing out. So if that isn't totally clear to you yet, fear not, I will have a video coming out on this topic, but if you can learn to identify where you're telling and fix it with showing, that is just going to like skyrocket your storytelling ability. Absolutely 100%. The third one is going to be super basic, and we all know what it is, and it is to read, read, read. I think we all want to be writers because we fell in love with storytelling. We fell in love with books. And I recently have been getting back into reading, and even, you know, having written 7 books, I can still pick up a book or listen to an audiobook. You know, Greg and I have been listening to The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater again, and I can still study craft. I can still study books by my favorite authors and learn new things, because as writers, we never stop learning. As humans and creators, we never stop learning. So you need to be reading. And I know that we all have very busy lives, but even if that means listening to an audiobook on your way to work or while you're cooking dinner at night, you know, reading to your kids, even children's stories, like middle grade stories, can teach us so much about the craft of writing. I have read some amazing middle grade novels, young adult novels, of course, that can teach you so much. So there are always ways to fit reading into your day and use it not only as, you know, a way to have fun and to relax and let go of some stress, but also to learn a new craft. Something that you could do is get your little sticky notes out and get like your highlighting pens out. And of course, like if you own this book, you don't want to be doing this in like a library book or something, but if you own these books, sticky note things, make notes, highlight passages, so that when you are studying craft and you are working on your own books, you can come back to that and see examples of it in the flesh, on the pages in black and white. I think that's really helpful. And again, you never stop learning. I'm going to be writing books 8 and 9 this year, and I have so much to learn, and I think that should be exciting. And you should feel very hopeful knowing that you can always better yourself, you can always become a better writer and a better storyteller. Now, my fourth tip is one that might not work for everybody, especially just kind of based on your storytelling style and the types of stories that you like to tell. But this has worked wonders for me, and that is to write short books. Now, I don't mean write short stories, although you absolutely can if you are somebody who enjoys that. Personally, I have never liked writing short stories. For me, and for this tip, I mean write shorter books. 30,000 words, like 30,000 to 50,000 words. You can write a full book in that amount of time. And the reason I say write shorter books is because it is so much easier to break down and edit a short book than it is to edit a book that's 115,000 words. Song of the Dryad was 115,000 words when I finished it, and editing that book was so difficult. Like it was so hard because there was so much to wade through. Like I had to change so many things so many times, and it was so tiring. And that's just part of the process, yes. And as you become a better writer and a better storyteller, it gets easier and easier and easier, I think, to edit your books, and absolutely to edit longer books. But what I've learned in writing Pistol Daisy and Whiskey City is that when you write a short book, like Pistol Daisy was about 35 to 40,000 words when I finished it, and now I'm working on the 6th draft. When you have this much to edit and work with, it is so much easier to really break it down and to find the weaknesses and fix them. Because then you can say, okay, I'm gonna edit this book in a month, and then you actually edit it, and then you have a better book. And you can continually go through this process and continually strengthen not only your ability to catch these weaknesses like telling instead of showing, or filtering, or white room syndrome, all things that I need to make videos on. Actually, I do have a video on filtering. I'll link it down below if you're interested. But the shorter your book, the easier it is to complete multiple rounds of edits, and you can honestly, I think, become a much better writer through that process. Because for me, I get better every time I edit a book or write a new book. But if I was writing books that were 200,000 words long, it would take me years to write it and probably years more to edit it, because there is just so much to wade through. And again, you can absolutely do that. Like, I have nothing against long books. I love long books, but I do believe that they are much more difficult to edit, especially if you are a new writer who's still trying to learn the craft, who's still trying to, hone your writing skills. Short books are your friend. You can edit them quickly, you can write them quickly, you can get them out and publish them quickly. So I highly recommend maybe writing like a series of 3 books, 50,000 words per book, and you will learn so much just in that time of writing and editing and writing and editing and getting it done very, very quickly. So again, this isn't going to work for everybody. Some people don't want to write short books. Some stories don't really lend themselves to short books, but it's definitely something you could try if these other tips don't feel all that helpful to you for any reason. Okay, and my last tip number 5, is going to be a mushy-gushy motivational one, and that is to not give up. I have spoken to so many people, and I have seen this play out in this community. I've been on AuthorTube for 4 years now. I had my 4-year anniversary on AuthorTube back in January, so I've seen people come and go from this community, and I've seen people give up. And it makes me so sad, because I think writing and like this desire to tell stories, I don't think it will ever go away. It's not easy. It is one of the hardest things I have ever done. Writing books is incredibly difficult. I will never tell you that it's easy. I will never tell you like, oh, it's fine, just write your book, like it's gonna be all good. No, it's super freaking difficult, and I get that. But if you give up, you will never get any better. And believe me, I spent years thinking that I was going to give up and thinking that I could never write a book. I started and abandoned more books than I can count at this point. There are multiple books in this little journal right here that I plotted out, that I started writing. There are at least 3 or 4 in here that I can think of off the top of my head that I started and abandoned because I didn't know how to write a book. I had no idea how to tell a story. I had never finished a book before, and I gave up on all of those books. But the important thing was that I didn't give up on myself, and I did not give up on my dream of writing and publishing books. I didn't give up on my dream of becoming a published author. And this honestly might be the hardest tip to achieve, because when we get overwhelmed and stressed out and frustrated and angry at ourselves, it's easy to want to say, I give up. I'm going to put this book in my drawer and I'm not going to look at it ever again. But that will never make you a better writer, and it will never take you anywhere near, what you want to achieve. It'll never get you a step closer to your dreams and your goals. So do not give up. I do not care if the book you just wrote is the worst trash fire you have ever seen. It's fine. We all write books that are better off in the bottom of a trash can. It's part of the process. It's absolutely part of the process. I've written some absolutely terrible books, and it's just part of learning. So do not give up. It's okay to feel discouraged sometimes, but remember, we all get discouraged. I get discouraged all the time. I, just go up and down. It's like a constant roller coaster of feeling like I'm the best writer ever, and then the next day it's like, I don't know why I ever tried to put pen to paper. None of this will ever work. But it's a journey, it's an adventure, and I think you really need to focus on the joy of it. And rather than feeling like, oh, I don't know how to be a good writer, so I'm gonna be frustrated and give up, I think it's much more fun to be hopeful and say, oh, I know that I can be a better writer, and here are 5 things that I'm going to focus on. Here are the 5 things that I'm going to try to do in this new book, or the 5 things I'm going to try to do while I edit this draft to make my story better and to learn more and to become a better storyteller. We can all do that, and all of us have to do that to become better writers. I know that some people are born just like talented writers or talented storytellers. Again, there are always going to be those like rare unicorns out there, but most of your favorite authors, most of the people here on AuthorTube, most of the writers all had to learn. We all had to learn. We were all totally crap at it at one point, but we didn't give up. So if you see books on the shelf and you wish your name was on there, it can be 100%, but not if you give up. So that is my final takeaway for you today. Okay friends, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please keep in mind, I will be making an entire video on the whole idea of show, don't tell, because most people, if not all people, do struggle with this, especially when they're new writers. And I would also be happy to do a video about giving your characters higher stakes, and then making sure that each character has wants, goals, and fears that will help to propel them through the novel. And then of course, if there's anything I've said that maybe was a little bit confusing, or if you would like an entire video topic on it, let me know down below. I'm definitely reading and responding to my comments, so you can always put them down there. I always have some of my favorite writing and craft books linked in the description down below, so check those out if you're looking for some books to either learn how to plot better, learn how to write better descriptions, or maybe you just want to feel more inspired. Maybe you need an inspirational or motivational writing book. I will have all of those linked down below. Song of the Dryad is still 99 cents on all ebook platforms if you're interested. And if you want book news before everybody else, please sign up for my newsletter. It's down below. By the way, if you're still here, I might, I don't know yet, but I might be sending out information about Pistol Daisy publication stuff very soon. And if I do that, and if I start sending out information about ARC readers, people that are subscribed to my newsletter will always be the first ones to find out. So if you want that book news, if you're interested in being an ARC reader, please make sure that you sign up via the little newsletter link down below. I'm booking up very quickly. February is totally full, March is filling up, and April is starting to fill up too. So if you would like any sort of editing service from me, make sure that you're hopping over to enchantedinkpublishing.com. I will have a clickable link at the end of the video if you are interested in booking any sort of editing service with me. I would love to work with you. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it helpful, and keep writing. All right, bye everybody.